In this video, we'll be adding some parameters in the controller actions. This is also an exercise from the MVC book, Professional ASP.NET MVC 5. It's on page 45. So what happens here is there are two ways for us to add parameters. Let's look at the first one. I want to call store browse, and I want to say exactly a genre that I want to browse, for example. So I want to browse genre by genre. So an easy way for me to do that is to add a parameter here. And then what I can do here is I can return the genre, whatever is in the URL. So for example, if the URL says so if the genre that we are asking for is country, it's going to be returning that genre of music albums. So this is called as a query string. So anytime you are sending parameters by using this question mark, an ID value, that's the way it is. So it's a question mark ID value that is called as a query string. Let's see how we can use the query string to pass a parameter to a method. So first step is for me to add that parameter inside the method I have here, browse. Because this is a string we are getting from a URL, we want to be sure that this does not have any characters that are not recognizable in HTML. So we will be using a utility called http utility.html encode. So what happens is when you have like symbols, when you have like some characters that are not usable directly in HTML, the HTML encode will convert those characters so that we don't get any error when we try to display it. So here I have hello from browse, and then I'll say genre is, and then I'll add genre. So I'm going to be building the application now. So HTTP utility is like a library. So it says it's part of system web. And if you look at our code, system web is a library we are referencing to. And that is why we are able to use that functionality. Okay, so this is ready. So let's run our application and try to send a parameter. So we have a store and we want to browse by genre. I think I'm a little too fast for my machine. It's still loading. Yeah, okay. So this is the query string I passed. It's very important this ID you send here matches with the parameter that's being sent here. And then now we are able to send data, like say like what genre we want, and then it's able to like display that. This is one way of passing parameter. The more preferred way is to actually use routing itself to send the parameters. So that would be, let's try that with details, the method details. So we want to like say show me details for ID number 5, like of some music or whatever. So what we would do is we would say int ID here, because it is an integer. We can just put ID there. Because it's a number, it cannot have any weird characters that the HTML cannot recognize. So we should be okay to directly use the ID here. So store ID equal to, and then we attach the ID there. So when you do this, your URL will look like this, not like with the question mark, genre, and all that. So this is a much cleaner way. This is a much cleaner way of using parameters for action methods. So let's try that. Okay. Let's run the application now. So we are going to try and call that URL store details. ID is 5, 10, whatever. So here I am able to like actually get the ID here. So that is the assignment that we have in our book. As part of the lab, I will be giving you some other URLs, and I would ask you to actually like code some controller methods, just to be sure that you understand how it is being done. Before we wrap up for this video, I just want to show you something really quick. Like I said, the routing, if you look under app start, route config, this is where routing is configured. So, and this is where the magic happens. So if you look at here, the default routing is going to have the controller name, action, and ID. You might wonder why, like when we call the home controller, we don't pass an ID, and how does it work? It works because we gave it as an optional parameter here. That's the default. ID is optional. This is the reason why we are able to skip ID for some controllers and add ID for some controllers. Some action methods, to be more specific. So this is where the magic happens. If your ID does not, this part does not match with the ID that you're passing in, like we can't say, let's try that maybe really quick. If I go to the store controller, instead of ID, I call it number. So I build and I try to run the application. So now I should be sending the same number, but the parameter name is different here. Let's see if this works. Run the application. I am going to call the same URL. So the parameters dictionary contains a null entry for parameter num. So this is because we do not have the integer, the parameter defined in our routing config. It does not recognize when the name's different. So just something to think about. So it's really not magic.